Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I was just standing in the doorway about to film. Well, I am filming now. And I thought, what on earth is that really, really nice fragrance? There's nothing in here. It's this one out here. It's really powerful. Very pleasant. It's still got some spikes to open yet and branches that haven't opened, so it's going to be in bloom for a while. The fragrance is really powerful. I probably haven't been here at this time of day, that's why I noticed it in passing, but yeah, it's really strong this morning, which is odd because there's next to no light today. It's foggy. Oh, well, it is at the moment anyway, so obviously the light's restricted. Anyway, back to the point. Lions, tigers and bears, oh my. I just had a quick look on the site I use for day lengths, and in a few days time we're going to be down below the magic 11 hours, which means I've got to get my lights set up. So I've got to find where I put them away. I think I know where they are. But anyway, this is a big deal because last year the powerful lights I can't have in the roof pointing downwards because I've got too many shelves that are high up. They'd be far too close. The two powerful lights that I've got, I need plants at bare minimum of a metre away and preferably 4 foot. I know that's a mixture of new and old, but a metre could be pushing my luck, except for really high light orchids. I'd like to be a little bit farther away. And the idea is that they're going to go up here, sideways on. So not hanging downwards, they'll be like that, pointing outwards across. So everything over here has got to go. It's going to have to move. This hanging rack up here is going to have to go. It'll be far too close. So it's a big rearranging time, trying to find what will be winter quarters and getting plants a suitable distance from those two powerful lights. I've got two smaller spotlights which could be hung in the roof. Plants can be quite a bit closer to those two, but they don't light up a very big area. They're you probably get 5 or 6 plants underneath them and that will be it. But they still might be worth setting up somewhere, to do a specific job in a specific place. The problem is getting all the flipping cables all over the place. But anyway, it's a planning time, basically. Plants that need the highest light are not necessarily gonna go where they are now. They will have to put up with possibly a little less light during the day to get their day length extended with good light. So it's a lot of shuffling around to do. I think this rack up here, I've actually got some mounted cattleyas. Now that's just over a metre away from the lights, so the face of that can be used. That'll be okay for certain plants. These Orangus will have to back right off. They don't need anywhere near that amount of light. So yeah, it's a bit of a shuffle round. My winter resters have always done okay in this area here. So down through there, don't forget the shade netting will come off. They get more than enough light from above and from the sides, and they get direct sun with no shade netting when we get any sun. The back of that shelf, my Jenkins CI up in the corner and my new, come on brain, what was aggregatum? Lindleyi, they'll just go around the other side of that rack, so they'll get the brightest light in that corner. So the back of that rack and all of this down through here will have to put up with natural light. They've always done okay, so even with the shorter days, but they won't get any lights on them. They'll be too far away. They get filtered light, I suppose, which may help a bit. But the cattleyas can stay where they are, even though the light will be coming from the side. They're okay, and I haven't well, I was just going to say I haven't got any non-bloomers, but I have. There are one or two, but not enough to rearrange the whole grow room, if you see what I mean. My Laelia purpurata currently is up in that corner. Well, that will just come over to this corner, so it still gets its top light and its side light, but it will put it closer to the actual artificial lighting. So I got a lot of shuffling around to do, basically, and you know, the main problem is the number of plants up there that have got to find another home, and that home will have to vary depending on their light requirements. The ones up this side have got their back to the brightest light, and round the other side it's just the Tolumnias. There's only Tolumnias up there. Oh, we've got one open. Ooh, let's get that down. Otherwise it's a silhouette, isn't it? So we've got a new Tolumnia bloom. Oh, I've got so little light in here, I'm not going to be able to close in on that very well. We'll see what we can do, if we can stop it wobbling. It's not fully open yet, it's only just started, but yeah. It's my only. It's not my only Tolumnia with a spike. There's another one lurking somewhere, but it hasn't even formed its buds yet. So we got a few Tolumnia blooms to come. I'll put that back in a minute. But yeah, I've got to find homes for things. Things are on the move. This rack here, I've got ones that don't need bright light round this side. Round the other side are Cattleyas, the small Cattleyas on mounts. So I may just turn those round the other way. You know, as the days get shorter and the days get duller by definition, these that had to have their back to the brightest light will probably be okay round the other side. Yeah, but then the Cattleyas during the day, if they come round this side, won't get the daytime light. So I've got a hell of a lot of thinking to do. Most of the shelves will stay where they are. Everything here can stay where it is. That's fine. The distance from the lights is fine, and you know they'll get their daytime light because they're relatively close to the glass. So that lot can stay as it is. I mean, I've got some Cattleyas up against the glass on, well, one or two on that shelf, quite close to the glass. They may have to just put up with that. There's only so much room in here of the type that I'm looking for. So yeah. All change, and it's going to take a lot of planning, quite honestly. I mean, the initial thing will be to take out all of the plants that have to move. I'll just put them in, perhaps throw them on the dining room table or something like that, so that they're out of the way. That enables me to get that rack down, and then I've got to get all these plants out of the way so that I can get the lights set up. You know, I need to get at that back wall and, you know, get plugs sorted out and all that sort of stuff. My lights go on manual. They don't have an automatic timer or anything like that. I go on the lines that when I'm here, I'll turn the lights on. And then I turn them off when they've, you know, when I've extended the day up to sort of 12 and a half hours to keep it up that higher end. And as the days get shorter, that period will be longer. And I'm usually here afternoons and evenings, so there'll be very few days where they don't get turned on. There will be an odd one, like Bournemouth Orchid Society meetings. That's an evening meeting, and if I turned them on before I left, they'd be on till like 10 o'clock at night. Too long is probably worse than an odd day being missed out. So yeah, it's going to be fun. A lot of plants have got to find new homes. And they need to be homes that will do them through the winter months. So those that don't need the long days specifically, and have always done okay out here before I ever had artificial lighting, they can go in places nearer the glass but away from the lights, leaving the places near the lights for those that really need it. So it's going to be fun. Going to be fun. I did notice a couple of other little oncidiums. I think they're probably all twinkles. Down here were some pieces that broke off of other plants. I think. Yeah, that one's got a couple of spikes coming. I can see 4. So the 2 new growths at the front there have both got 2 spikes coming. So that one's pushing on. even though those bulbs didn't get as large as they should have done, at least they're going to bloom. I can't even remember what that one is. We have to wait till it blooms to find out. And this tiny little piece here that's actually two pieces, was that the other one that had a spike? No, it wasn't that one. Perhaps it was the other one at the end then. Perhaps it was this one. I know there were two. Ah, yeah, it's that one. Yeah. Again, that was a piece of a twinkle that broke off at repotting time, or was taken off, that's pushed up a couple of new growths, one of which has a spike. Only the one at the moment. But so we got some extra little spikes coming there on those little ones. This Miltonia Queen Anne, the spike is pushing on okay. And strange, this bulb hasn't matured yet. It hasn't actually formed its bulb. It's still growing, and yet the spike's pushing out, and it's started a new growth. So this one's growing a bit strange at the moment. That one had a bit too much light. That's why it's down here now. Suddenly got taken. And obviously there are other... too much light on some types of plants takes a while to show. So you can often have moved it away from the light, and this is a classic example. Yeah, that's caught the light too much. The top of this one caught the light. It was too late now, but I didn't see it happening at the time. So next year we will be an awful lot more observant about where things are. And oh, that are good. These lovely dendrobium blooms that are a bit cluttered up at the moment. This is Infundibulum crossed with Lowii. The blooms last absolutely ages. I've had those blooms out some time, but I've just noticed over here. Oh, it's a leaf. Oh, I thought that was a pair of buds. Maybe you can see what I saw. It's just a leaf. So that's an old cane. I was going to say it's an old cane that's already bloomed. So that would be a little unusual. Yeah. So a major shuffle round, and it's probably a day's work. All in all plants are going to effectively have to come out that are in need of moving. Yeah. Then I've got to make sure I've got suitable. That rack has to come down. Everything over along this wall has to come down. I might even have to sacrifice that top shelf, which means the big bush up there that's extending out to the glass in some places, that might have to go back on the floor, where it will get pretty good light actually with the lights on. It will anyway. Yeah, so it's going to take an awful lot of shuffling around, and we'll see how we go. But it's the planning that's the problem. And as I say, I'll probably have to just take out loads and loads of plants and get them out of the way and get the lights set up, and then turn them on and see where they hit and see if they're actually in the right place, or do the lights themselves need moving until I get them where I'm happy with them. I mean, I think one light's going to go about there, bearing in mind the beam comes out at an angle, yeah, and it's strong. Anything up there is going to be close. All of that will get lit up, although it's a little bit distant. It's still light, still better, some light, better than no light, better than pitch dark. Yeah, so they'll get some light as they did last year. They haven't got much to do over there. Vandas can stay where they are. They were fine there last year. They flowered all through this year, so I haven't got a problem with those. They wouldn't naturally flower in the winter anyway. It's too cool for them. They prefer the warmer weather. So yeah, we will have to do this. And as I say, I think it's only about 4 or 5 days and we'll hit 11 hours. So I do need to get on with this. More work. Still, at least the workload with the watering is dropping off quite dramatically now. I mean, I can go 3 days on my mounts now. There are some that would prefer not to go that long, and others are fine. But as I said, I can't go round picking out individual plants to water. But as we go into winter, I may well have a subset of mounts that have got virtually no moss and are not drier in winter type plants. But if the temperatures cool down, which they will, then they're not going to need as much water and feed because they won't grow as much. The cool growers will. They're not necessarily going to stop growing, so I may have a little subset of those that shouldn't stay dry too long, even though it's winter time. And if I put those relatively near each other, they'll be quite easy to deal with. So it's a massive shuffling around. I watered the mounts yesterday, and you'll be pleased to hear I had a job to find a bug anywhere. So I think that new bug spray's done its job. There were a couple. I found some scale, and adult scale, as I touched them, they just fell off, so they were dead. Yeah, the stuff will be proven if after about 10 days or so there's no new ones. That means anything that's hatched out has taken a bite and been killed. You do have to bear in mind, I did think that through, the systemic element works on the creatures taking a bite. Well, you still get the bite mark, don't you? You still get marks on your plants up to the point where there are none left, but you're still stuck with the bite marks you've already got. So perhaps not as good as one might think. But anyway, it seems to be working. And the other stuff I talked about, the vine weevil stuff, which is exactly the same formula and chemical, just you use it at a stronger dose, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. My 2 large bottles of that have arrived, so I think I've got enough stock of that stuff now to last flipping donkey's years. And if it works, the need to use it, the frequency will go right down, so it will last even longer. If you see what I mean, you've got a bad outbreak and you have to do repeat applications for quite a while to take it down to nothing or next to nothing, then you've got to use up a fair bit. But once the job's done, strictly speaking, the only way for new bugs to occur is that they've been missed, which with a systemic shouldn't really happen over time, or they've got resistance, which again shouldn't really happen in a small space. This is a new chemical in here now, hasn't been used in here before, so there shouldn't be any built up resistance in here unless I brought that resistant strain in on a plant, which is unlikely. I am pretty careful when I buy plants. I know somebody's going to say, what about those brassicas you bought in covered in aphids? I knew they were there, and aphids are just the easiest thing in the world to get rid of. They really are. They can be quite damaging on blooms though, but they need to be dealt with, but they're not a big deal like mealybugs and scale are, and possibly spider mites. This stuff that I've got doesn't say spider mites, so I've got no guarantee it would work on spider mites, but I don't think I've got any to try it out on, and I'd like to keep it that way. I don't think I've got spider mites anywhere. I certainly haven't got the red spider mites, but the other ones you can't really see. You only know they're there by the damage they've done. And by then you've probably got a fair old few of them to actually show the damage. They are minute, so it takes a lot of them to do damage over time. But there are specific ways of dealing with spider mites. My ordinary soapy wash stuff, which is totally harmless to the plants, you could apply that every day if you wanted, apart from your plants are soaking wet, but that kills spider mites because it's a suffocation type thing, soapy wash type thing. So if I ever got or thought I had spider mites, I could use that will work, but again, not systemic. You have to do repeat applications. So anyway, I don't need lots of thought about help with how to set these lights up, on the grounds that you can only see what's on film. You have to be here to really see the areas that the lights touch. The distance from the lights doesn't really show effectively on a camera, so I don't want lots of advice necessarily, although it's nice to be offered it, but in reality I sort of know what I've got to do out here. The problem is getting on with it. It's a bother factor, like, can I be? But I've got to. I've got the lights, it seems silly not to use them. I've spent years and years without artificial lighting, and plants did okay. My winter resters bloomed. But like I've always said, are your plants doing okay? If the answer is yes, great. But you still have to ask yourself, could they be doing any better with the environment and the facilities that you can offer. Yeah, I've got the lights, I just as well use them. It's just a matter of getting it all set up. Coming soon, that will be fun. I've got another video to do later on today. I've suddenly realised I missed one out. In the 3 series, the Phalaenopsis series, the Oncidium series and the Cattleya series, which was a bit short because there was only one got repotted, I didn't do a sort of a mini care guide for the Cattleya types. So I'll do that one either later today or tomorrow and add that into the list. We might be getting to the second Cattleya repot because the second bloom is going now. These blooms are gone, so that means it's now not in spike. Let's see if I can just get it out. What I'll be after now, there they go, all over the floor. What I'll be after now is, have we got new growths? Well, I can see one straight away down there. Have we got any more? Yep, we got another one coming out here. Anything else? Yeah, we got another one there. There's at least 3 new growths on here now. And I do see some active roots. Goodness, well, not many, but a couple. So at some point I'm going to have to get the rest of that coconut husk off, which is a real root damaging exercise, that is. That's hard work. But I'm trying to time this. I don't want to lose this plant through lack of roots, so I'm trying to time it at a point where I can definitely see new roots coming. I'm going to have to pick on one of these new growths, like that one. That one's quite strong, and actually just take that husk away from beneath that one growth, and then watch that growth and see what size it needs to be before the new roots come out, and then judge that the other new growths are going to be doing the same sort of thing. But we've got some, so it's doing okay. And it might even push some more new growths out when the spike comes off. It's quite a little trigger mechanism goes on, certainly with Cattleyas. Lack of blooms means I haven't perpetuated my species, so I need more growths to be able to get more spikes, to get more blooms, to get pollinated. So there is a little trigger mechanism goes on. In some plants it's incredibly slow though, for them to realise they've lost their chance of, you know, perpetuating the species as such. Anyway, so that one is going to get, I'm pretty confident this one will actually get mounted, even though it does have long spikes. They're strong spikes. They're not the sort of things that can get knocked and broken. You know, it's like having a cane in here, they're so strong. So I don't know why I was being gentle with that. The blooms are gone now. Yeah, that's very strong. I can go right over to there. There. So that was a lot of bend. That's not the sort of bend you would do by handling the plant. So I'm going to trim that off in a minute anyway. Yeah, so this one could get repotted or mounted soon. Let's put it back where it goes. That's where it goes for now. That needs more light than it's getting there, so that's one of the ones that's going to be on the move. That got put there because it was the only space I had at the time, and it was in bloom. I wanted to enjoy the blooms at eye level where I could see them, not stuck up in the roof somewhere. Yeah, so that'll do for this one, and I'll see you next time. But in a few days' time, the grow room's going to have quite a different look to it. Quite different, you know, all that lot will be gone. Be a hell of a lot of this missing that will then be in other places, and the lights will be there, and yeah, all good fun. It's, I remember last year, the first time I put the lights on, I went outside after dark to see what effect it had on the neighbourhood, whether I was lighting up everybody's windows. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Although once the shade netting comes off, the lights do light up a fair bit of the garden out there. But then they're not. It's not like they're on late at night or anything. You know, they're only on, you know, from when it gets dark for another 2 or 3 hours. So they're usually off by like 7 o'clock in the evening, 7:30. So don't think it disturbs the neighbours. I bet they all think I'm growing weed, which in this country is a no-no. Well, I think it still is. I'm not sure. Don't have anything to do with that sort of thing. Anyway, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.